All right, welcome back to the Dad Experience. Let's go ahead and take a look at the patch notes. We've been waiting for this one for a little while here. They said that they wanted to fix the problem with strength builds, and they knew the game was pretty much balanced towards spell power to a fault. So let's take a look and see what they did. Just released today. So I'll be releasing another video right after this just to go do another run so that some of these things can make sense. We can talk about them. But for now, a added spell mastery mechanic unlocked by finding a new NPC in dungeons in New Game Plus 1 or higher. So I don't know what spell mastery is. We're going to take a look at that in the next run that we go through. Donating resources to the chapel now gives town-wide permanent buffs like class titles. These can be seen in the titles menu, and donation is done by dying in a mission and through donating resources directly at the Tier 5 chapel. We'll have to take a look at how that works and what those types of bonuses are. Each point of strength now gives armor penetration. This is huge. This combined with how they changed armor is what's supposed to bring us beefy boys back into play. Right now, the best way, or at least prior to this patch, the best way to play a weapon damage build was to go dex, because dex could actually scale in a meaningful way. There was no limit to how high you could scale up crit damage, and there was there was meaningful progression there, as opposed to strength, which was only giving you armor. Armor got nerfed so hard by going into higher ranks of New Game Plus that it hardly mattered. It didn't increase weapon power at all. So you were basically running like a daggers warrior at high New Game Plus with a ton of dexterity, which is a little silly. So we're going to take a look at how armor penetration is affecting things now versus how it used to. Next thing here is dexterity and intelligence. Crit damage scaling has been changed from linear to decay and growth. So if you didn't know before, 1 point of dex meant 1% additional crit damage, which if you ever got yourself to a theoretical 100% crit chance, that meant that every time you hit, you were going to crit. And so every point of dex was 1% increase to your damage. There was nothing like that for a strength. Obviously, everything I just said applies to intelligence and spellcasters as well. Next thing, holding down a button in the attribute assigner and material trader UIs now repeat the press to minimize annoying repeat clicking. Yeah, okay, some quality of life changes. Material trader UI lets you change how much to trade in at a time. Yeah, that's nice. Mission loadout, New Game Plus picking now rolls around. So New Game Plus minus at 0 picks the high. I'm not sure what that means. I guess I'll get in there and take a look. I guess the Girdle of Might was broken as well. The attunement was messed up, so they fixed that. Barracks trap room, they fixed something that can break the level layout. I don't know much about that. Fix the enchanting menu for broken enchanted items of insightfulness. I didn't run into that problem myself. So a few more quality of life changes. I guess there was Dauntless, one of the extra effects you could get on Killing Spree was broken in some way, so they fixed that. Summons now respawn faster on level switch. I haven't played a ton with summon builds, so I'm not sure what that's going to impact. I was hoping for some AI changes to summons, but I don't see anything like that here. Lowered the enchant cost scaling, so it's a bit cheaper at high levels. I haven't gotten into crazy high New Game Plus levels, so I'm not sure how much that's impacting things, but it's certainly going to be helpful. Increased dust and crystal scaling from 10% to 20% in New Game Plus bonuses. Really, really good there. We needed that. Trinkets, debuffs like bleed, etc. now scale with spell power. So this is amazing for spellcaster builds. I had thought it made sense to me that these things were already scaling with spell power. Right? If, like, say you have the Scroll of Meteor and you spend 75 mana, boom, you drop 100 damage. It would make sense to me that that is doing more for a caster than it is for a warrior. But I guess that hasn't been the case, and it will be now. So great things. It's not like spellcasting is getting left in the dust here. They're getting a quality of life change that is huge for them. Added some spell tags to summons. I'm not sure exactly. That seems like it could be something that has a significant impact that I'm not really aware of at the moment, but we'll see. Okay, armor. So here's the other half of how they're fixing strength builds. They're changing the way that the math for armor works. Armor and resistance has been reworked a bit in order to increase the difference between having high and low armor/resistance. In general, this is a buff to armor/resistance bonuses and a buff to the armor/resistance penetration mechanics. Remember, we are now going to get armor penetration from added strength. You might hear my little girl in the background. She's getting ready for bed, and she wants to make some noise. Negative armor and resistance is no longer half as powerful as positive armor. So it used to be the case that negative 100 armor would only give half as much of the debuff as 100 armor gave in the form of a buff, right? So if 100 units of armor gave you 100 units of awesome, then negative 100 units of armor only gave you 50 negative units or 50 units of suck, right? It's not the case anymore. It's static across the board. 100 units of armor is 100 units of awesome. Negative 100 is negative 100 units of suck. Armor and resistance penalties from New Game Plus are now lowered to minus 120 and minus 65 to match negative armor efficiency change. I think this is a good thing. I think we're not getting, if I'm reading it right, we're not getting penalized as much as we were before. I think it's actually, yeah, I think this is only to offset the other change here. So I don't think this is a net increase bonus. I think it's just offsetting the way they're changing negative armor. So armor and resistance penetration has been remade to be percentage based instead of a constant offset. And penetration cannot push your armor below 0. That's interesting because what that means is theoretically the old way of doing things, you could, if you could find enough armor penetration, you could push mobs into a negative table and increase your damage. But there was no reliable way to get that much armor penetration, so we weren't going to be able to mess with that. So this percentage, we'll have to see how that maths out. I mean, at what point does that cap out? Is there a way that it caps out? What point does it start decaying? We'll see. We'll know what the math does here pretty soon. Adjusted enemy boss armor and resistance values and scaling to match changes in armor and resistance. So yeah, that's just a balance on the bosses to make sure they keep up with the new changes here. Also, in order to kind of keep up with this, they didn't want the curse penalty, to the shadow curse, to jack us up super hard, considering it's now negative armor is much more impactful than it used to be. So the old math used to be 4 plus 1 times your New Game Plus level. Now it's 3 plus 2/3 of your New Game Plus level. So if you're at New Game Plus 10, it's going to be 3 plus 6 theoretically. So 9 for every point of Shadow Curse that you have on. New enemies. So we've got Bannermen, guys. We're going to take a look at those. When you get into New Game Plus, they pop up in the Dark Citadel. Ranger enemies in the Dark Citadel now scale up their attacks. That could be scary. Made Avatar Phase 3 deal slightly less damage and Phase 1 deal slightly more. I like that because I've had a couple runs where I was smoking the dude, and Phase 3 he got in there and popped me. I took a little bit too much spell curse and I just got one shot popped. So maybe that's what we're talking about there. That could be great. Lowered damage for crossbowmen in barracks. I didn't really notice that myself, so we'll see. Increase the damage for archers in the courts. Yeah, we'll see how much. That could be scary. This one I'm pretty scared of. Slightly increased how fast lightning wizards in courts build up their damage. lightning wizards have always been scary, and they nerfed them to make them so that the charge up mechanic of their lightning took more time, and then they were a bit more manageable. Now they're kind of bringing it back up closer to what it was before, but I don't know by how much, what the percentage is. Weapons, here we go. This is another valuable set of changes. All weapons above tier 1 now also do damage based on character attributes. For example, swords now do a bit more damage depending on your strength. Okay, absolutely huge. I don't know what the math is, okay, but theoretically, this is a buff to weapon damage for all classes. Is this going to be enough to make it so that wizards can do staff builds now? I've been talking about that in all my previous videos. When are we going to get a caster that can actually like use that wand and have it matter, right? Use a staff and have it matter. Theoretically, I mean, their stat bonus that they care about, their character attribute, is going to be intelligence. So wands, staves, should be getting more damage from those. We'll see how much. Weapon masteries increase to 5% bonus damage instead of 3%. I think that's great. I've been putting the majority of my spare stars into attunements, and I felt like the cost after 1 point of weapon mastery was just, it went up too steeply for 3%. 5%, that's pretty good. I might consider that worth tossing it into, you know, be more sparing on what things I attune to, and then drop the rest into weapon mastery. Certainly if I play a weapon damage class, like a tyrant warrior or like an assassin or blades rogue. Dexterity bow's secondary attack changed from power shot to arrow volley. So that's dexterity bows are the short ones, short bows as compared to long bows. Strength bow power shot now shoots 3 arrows instead of 1 and goes a bit longer. Cool, maybe. I mean, are we still able to cheese this by, you know, holding down attack with the right click and then just like bam, 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 slapping the special ability and slipping it in there? I mean, that could make this really, really powerful. We'll see. I think that mechanic should honestly go away, and they should make something really impactful. If you're going to pull back a bow, it should hit, have a ton of damage, ton of penetration, and really clear out a crowd. But I mean, we'll see. If they want us weaving it back and forth, let's do that. Added 10% armor penetration to crossbow bolts. Cool. Now crossbows are starting to have more of an identity, right? Before, it's like, what are they here for? They're kind of a stat stick. They give you a little bit of, I don't know, some emergency range. It was unclear when you wanted them. Even still, I can only think of a couple of examples about when I might want to have one of these, but they're starting to develop a more solid identity here. I like that. Increased the crossbow explosive shot size by a little bit. We'll see how much that is. That could be good. Wizard, they took the frost shell armor bonus and lowered it from 100% at max down to 60% at max. That's probably good. I mean, considering some of the changes they're doing with armor and that barrier, it was pretty powerful. Lowered Incanter's flow, the mana cost reduction, and the spellcast speed reduction. At max rank, it's now going to be 4% per stack as opposed to 6%. That's a big reduction. Because you're talking about 8 stacks, to 2% per stack that you just lost. That is 16% less. I think it needed to happen. Wizards are really, really powerful right now, and they're about to get cooler from their spell power affecting items. So I think this is something that needed to happen for the evokers. I've been just dusting stuff on my evocation wizard. Enhanced physique no longer gives intelligence. That's good. I mean, enhanced physique doesn't I don't think it was ever really designed to do that. And at a certain New Game Plus level, once you had enough levels, the best way to play one of these guys was a transmutation, because you got so much extra intelligence that it turned into damage. And the whole point of transmutation is to kind of give an option for wizards to play kind of like a melee style wizard. So we'll see if these changes kind of bring the transmutation identity back to where I think the developers were trying to take it. The Ranger, we fixed a bug with Entangle, where Healing Wisps and Entangle, the Poison Ivy, weren't mutually exclusive. I didn't mess with this enough to know exactly what was going on here. I think this might be a multiplayer thing that I never experienced. Here's something that's amazing. Windweaver cooldown, the internal cooldown going from 0.25 seconds down to 0.15. I mean, this is great for ranged, right? I mean, because they're firing off a lot of things. But this is also really good for attack speed daggers rangers, because if you really crank up your attack speed, you can get more than 0.25 attack cooldown, or less than, I should say. So this lets us really go hard on attack speed on rangers if we want to go melee and still take advantage of Windweaver on all of our strikes. I theoretically, I think the bow fires fast enough that you might be able to get more shots than 1.5 in. I'm not so sure. We'll see. Increased weapon wolf companion attack speed. That's good. The guy hit hard, but he didn't attack very fast at all. I see them mostly as kind of just a meat shield. But yeah, once again, we'll take a look at how much that attack speed affects things. Sped up Rain of Arrows a little. I like Rain of Arrows. That's a great ability. Having it come out a little bit faster, that could be fun. Lowered Archery. Okay, so they're reducing fast shot. This makes sense. The final upgrade of fast shot used to give you 40%. You went from 10 to 20 to 40. That seemed like such a huge increase on that last point. You could not deny that. Going up a static 10% every time makes a lot of sense to me. Paladin Lawbringer, so that Punish the Wicked no longer does damage increase against silenced and disarmed enemies. Instead, drops Judgment Hammers on them. Well, that could be good. Another way to bring out some of these other Paladin builds. I think we're going to start seeing, not just the, the Radiance build, Divine build, the nuking fire build is currently the way to play with spell power. I think this is going to bring a damaging way to come back into play. Change Paladin's Inner Flames. This is interesting. So they're reducing the amount of stacks from Inner Flames down from 7 down to 5, but they're making the Flames of Devotion add damage per character level instead of flat damage. That theoretically could make, spell damage builds for a Paladin even crazier. I think maybe this is trying to help, because spell damage Paladins were doing really good up to like New Game 3, New Game 4 from what I heard, and then they really fell off as far as damage goes. So this might be a fix for that. We're already fixing the scaling on strength here with the armor changes and the armor penetration, but that would not necessarily fix the scaling issue that the spellcasting Paladin, the Radiant Paladin, had. So this might be the answer to that. As far as Sorcerer, I wish I would have seen a little bit more sorcery changes here. Look forward to a bit more balancing on the Sorcerer in the future. But the Ice Block now shoots 3 shards of Ice Nova when blocking an attack. Okay, I mean, Ice does need some love. It needs a little bit of love. Not a lot of people are really looking at it right now. I've seen it be pretty effective. It's just kind of really slow start in a build. But yeah, I'm not gonna complain about it. I think Ice needs still a little bit more love. But yeah, that's what we've got here. I mean, these are huge bonuses. I'm gonna go ahead and stop this recording, get it posted up, and then yeah, let's do a run. Let's find out what some of this stuff means. All right, thanks.